Hello, welcome everyone, and happy birthday to Mother Horror. Thank you very much for inviting me to the horrific celebrations. My name's Catherine Cavendish, and I shall be reading an extract from my short story. It's a ghost story called Euphemia Christie, and that's included in Silver Shamrock's rather lovely Midnight in the Graveyard anthology, and with some very, very illustrious writers. To catch you up on the story so far, postgraduate student Marie loves to wander through graveyards, reading the memorials. On one such venture with a friend, Fran, she finds one dedicated to Euphemia Christie, who died in 1903. There's something about this particular gravestone which fascinates Marie, and she becomes obsessed with finding out more about the woman and traces her to a former home, the Old Manse, a house destroyed by fire decades earlier and situated on the edge of the nearby rural village of Barton Longhope, where the name Euphemia Christie still evokes a violent response from locals. Marie picks up the story. I'd been away from the Old Manse no more than half an hour, probably less. But in that time the smell of burning had intensified. My nerves tightened, and a voice screamed inside my head, warning me to stop. Not to do what I was about to. But another voice pressed me on, and I stepped once more over the threshold. It seemed an unseen resistance was bent on stopping me from going farther, and I had to force my way through an invisible barrier. My legs moved as if trapped in quicksand. I don't know why I kept fighting it, only that I had to. Something in my head drove me forward. That's when the weeping started. Somewhere in there, a woman sobbed. I called out to her, "Hello!" The sobbing ceased, but only for a few seconds before resuming with renewed force. Someone wept as if their heart was broken. "Oh, please tell me where you are. Maybe I can help you." I moved a little easier now. Whatever had been holding me back relented, and I stepped over rubble and undergrowth, through an empty doorway and into a room, once again with no ceiling, but which at least had 3 walls still standing. In the corner, a grand piano leaned precariously, its lid shattered and one leg buckled. A thick layer of plaster and dust gave it a ghostly, ethereal air. The sobbing grew louder. My heart thumped, and I wrung my tongue over dry lips. I could see no one, but I was getting closer to the source of the noise. "Please tell me where you are." The woman's voice startled me. "They're all dead. There's no hope." Still I could see no one. The weeping began again before fading away to nothing. A sudden gust of wind blew debris, sending it swirling around the floor, coating my shoes. The taste of dust filled my mouth. I don't know how long I stood there, trying to rationalise what had just happened. That I had encountered the ghost of a grieving Euphemia Christie, I was certain. The depth of her despair led me to one inescapable conclusion. She was innocent of any involvement in the deaths of her husband and children. "Rest in peace, Euphemia," I said, and felt a slight breath on my cheek, as if someone had brushed their lips across my skin. For some reason it calmed me, and I left the Old Manse with a lighter heart than when I'd arrived. Maybe all she'd needed was for someone to give her a kind word or thought. Perhaps now she could find eternal peace. Oh, I wanted to believe that, but something wouldn't let me. At home the following night I remembered the photographs I had taken in St. Christopher's graveyard and uploaded them onto my laptop. When I arrived at the ones of Euphemia Christie's gravestone, the hairs on my arms bristled. I looked closer. No, I wasn't mistaken. On every single one, a white mist hovered just behind and to the right of the stone itself, casting a ghostly pall. Too excited to be scared, I called Fran. She sounded tired and worried. "Where were you? Crap is on your case. She asked me if I'd seen you, and I told her last time I had. I thought you looked a bit pale, so maybe you weren't well. But she said you hadn't called in sick and hadn't replied to a number of emails she'd sent you this past few days. On top of that, you missed 3 lectures. You're in deep shit, Marie. Are you at least going to hand in your work by Wednesday? I hadn't checked my student account for days and had broken a cardinal rule by not communicating my absence. I had no doubt that a couple of these unanswered emails contained official disciplinary warnings. If I didn't submit my work on time, I would incur penalties, or even worse. So why didn't it matter to me? I'd worked so hard to achieve my first degree and had started my master's all fired up and keen to get on with it. Now, because of one gravestone, it couldn't have mattered less. Oh, don't keep on, Fran. I'll get it done, but I need to show you something crazy. You won't believe it. I told her about the mist on the pictures. On the previous evening, I'd already regaled her with my experiences in Barton Longhope right before I promised to see her today at lectures. And now I was in trouble with the course tutor and possibly the head of school. Probably the head of school. Did I care? I rattled on about the mist, its amorphous density, indeterminate shape. Finally, I ended by suggesting we meet. Right then. Have you any idea what time it is? Fran asked. I hadn't. It's after 2 a.m. and you woke me. I had to be up at 7. She didn't seem mollified by my mumbled apology, and we ended the call on a decidedly frosty note. No way could I sleep that night. 6 o'clock saw me dressing in jeans and a hoodie emblazoned with the university logo. Remembering the tangled undergrowth, I chose trainers rather than the flat shoes I'd worn on my previous visit. I cast aside any thought of the lecture I was due to attend at 11, and the unwritten essay was equally forgotten. In half an hour I was back in Barton Longhope. A blackbird chirped and a thrush trilled. The sun had begun warming the trees, and an aroma of sap rose from the ground. No smell of burning today. Nor was I alone. I recognised him straight away. The man from St. Christopher's Cemetery stood a little way off, and although he was puffing away at a pipe, releasing small clouds of smoke, I could smell no tobacco. He reminded me of my great-grandfather, who I'd never known but whose photographs were scattered throughout the pages of an album my mum had inherited. The man looked directly at me, and I moved a little closer, intrigued rather than perturbed. He removed his pipe from his mouth. You have the look of her. Who? Euphemia Christie? And a sister, Grace. I've seen you before, haven't I? You have, and doubtless you'll see me again. Who are you? What's your name? You don't need to know that. He puffed on his pipe again. She's coming. You should take care. She knows you, and she won't. A rush of wind knocked me off my feet, and I sprawled on the ground, my face buried in dewy grass. When I struggled to my feet, the man had gone.